Okay, I left off right here. I was saying a positive 4 and a negative 1 is a positive 3. All right, next, number 2. Okay, if there's a plus sign in front of the parentheses, you do not need to distribute the plus sign because this is like a positive 1. 1 times A is A, 1 times negative 3B is negative 3B. So if it's a plus sign, there's no need to distribute it. So this is positive 5A plus A minus 3B. I can combine these two terms right here because they both have A. So my answer here is going to be a positive 6A minus 3B. Now you don't need this positive sign in front of the 6A, but I'm just writing the positive sign just so you guys know what sign it's supposed to be. All right, next one. So since it's a positive sign in front of parentheses, you do not need to distribute it. So my answer here would be negative 3 plus 2P minus 3Q. These are not like terms. This one is a constant, this one has a P, this one has a Q. So this is my final answer. For number 4, there is a negative sign in front of the parentheses. So what we're going to have to do first is recognize that we have to distribute that minus sign to all the terms after it. So I have a negative A. Now I'm going to start distributing this negative sign to these terms. So a negative times A is a negative A, and a negative times a negative B, a negative times a negative, is a positive B. Now let's take a look at this. This is really like a negative 1A and a negative 1A, right? And these are the ones that I can combine because they're like terms. Think about it this way. A negative 1A and a negative 1A. If I take away 1A and I take another A, that means that it should be negative 2A. So this would be negative 2A plus B. All right, next one. Okay, this is a new situation. Now it's not just a minus sign in front of parentheses, it's a negative 2. So the extra step here is I have to take my negative 2 and distribute it to all the terms after it inside of the parentheses. So my first term is a positive 3H, and now I have to start distributing the negative 2. So the negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And now this is a negative 2, not just a 2, it's a negative 2. You guys with me here? This is a negative 2. Negative 2 times 4H is negative 8H. Now I can combine the terms that have H's. So this is a positive 3H. This is a negative 8H. And if I make a scoreboard, if I have a positive 3H and a negative 8H, the negatives win by 5. So my answer is negative 5H. And then my other term is just a negative 2. So just to reiterate what we just did, because this is super important, there was a negative 2 touching the parentheses. So I distributed the negative 2 to everything inside of those parentheses, and then I combined like terms. We're going to do it again for number 6. This is a special case because there's a negative, not just a 2. There's a negative 2 in front of the parentheses, and you have to distribute it to each term inside of the parentheses. So starting with my positive 6M, I'm now going to distribute that negative 2. Negative 2 times 4N is negative 8N. And then negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And looking at these, there's nothing I can combine. This has an M, this has an N, and this is a constant. So this is my final answer. All right, next one. When there's a plus sign, do I need to distribute the plus sign? No, because distributing the plus sign is like multiplying by a positive 1, and it's not going to change anything because 1 times 4y is 4y and 1 times x is x. So it doesn't change the sign. So it's not necessary to distribute a positive. So I have a plus 6x from this first expression. I have a plus 4y. Then going to the next expression, I have another plus 4y. And now I have a plus x, which I can make into a plus 1x if I want. So the two x terms I have, I'm going to put in squares. I have like a positive 6x and a positive 1x. And then the two y terms I'm going to put in circles. I have a positive 4y and another positive 4y. So combined, if I combine my x's, it's going to be positive 7x. And if I combine my y terms, it's going to be positive 8y. There's that one. Okay. Now this next one, guys, there's a negative sign touching these parentheses. There's an extra step here because this is a negative sign. You have to take the negative and distribute it to all the terms inside the parentheses afterwards. So I have a positive 5x. I have a positive 3y. That I just picked up from my first expression. Now I'm going to distribute that negative. A negative times a 4x is just a negative 4x. And a negative times a negative 2y, this is a negative times negative, negative times negative, is a positive 2y. All right, let's take a look. I have a positive 5x and I have a negative 4x. I have a positive 3y and a positive 2y. Let's start combining like terms. Starting with my x's, I have a positive 5x and a negative 4x. That's just a positive 1x. Now my y's, I have a positive 3y and a positive 2y. That's a positive 5y. There you go. All right, let's keep going. Okay, this one also has a negative in front of the parentheses, which means I'm going to have to make that a negative 1 and distribute it to each term after it. So starting at the beginning, I have a negative 3x and a positive 2. Now I'm going to start distributing that negative. I have a negative 8. And then a negative times the 5x is a negative 5x. Okay, so looking at my x terms, I have a negative 3x and a negative 5x. If you thought about a scoreboard, it'd be like a negative 3x and a negative 5x, which together would be negative 8x. So this is a negative 8x. Then if I look at my constants, I have a positive 2 and a negative 8. So you see how you can make a lot of mistakes here if you don't pay attention to the signs? You can always plug these into your calculator. Your negatives would win by 6. But really pay attention to the signs. It's so important, and it's so easy to get this wrong. All right, moving ahead. This is a positive sign in front of the parentheses. It's a plus sign. So you do not need to distribute anything. All you need to do is write down the terms and then see what you can combine. So looking at my x terms, I have a negative 5x and a positive 9x. And I know that negative 5x and positive 9x, positives win by 4x. So that's a positive 4x. Now I have a negative 2b and a positive 2b. These are additive inverses. A negative 2b and a positive 2b are opposites. So what do they add up to? Let's see, negative 2b and a positive 2b. If they're additive inverses, they add up to 0. So these cancel out, and I just have to write my plus 1. You don't want to write like plus 0 in the middle of this. It's unnecessary. So that was that one. The b's canceled out because they were additive inverses. Ooh, we get to turn the page. Perfect. Let's go ahead, turn the page, meet me on this problem. You can pause it too if I ever go too fast. Actually, meet me in the next video because this video is about to time out. Oh no, where am I? I just messed up. Oh wait, here we go. Got it. Wait, yeah, there we go.